Hey everyone, while the riders of the Tour de France are enjoying the second rest day of the tour, I think everyone else, including their director sportif, including the sponsors, the commissars, the judges, and especially the journalists, even probably the president of France and also millions of fans around the world are trying to really figure out how this is going to go down this coming week. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a little bit of a preview of the third week of the tour, and I also wanted to do a little analysis of the road and figure out the key things and the key moments that are going to be very important in this coming tour, especially the Alpine stages. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk about is the weather, right? The weather is definitely going to be a huge, huge factor in this tour. And through the first two transitional stages, the flat stage tomorrow and a hilly stage the next day, this is going to be on Wednesday to Gap. The weather is going to be super, super hot. Nîmes, which is pretty much a circuit stage tomorrow around Nîmes, is going to be close to 100 degrees tomorrow. So very close to 40 Celsius. This is going to have a tremendous effect on the riders itself. And, the riders are going to have to really watch out how much they're drinking, what they're eating, because the danger of heat stroke or even a minor heat strokes could affect you in the coming days. So this is going to be a major thing. The same on a stage on Wednesday, on a hilly stage on Wednesday, where the riders have that category to climb in the end. Now, this year they kind of opted for a little bit of a different approach to Gap because, as you know, usually we have Col de Mans, which is a very hard climb, and that descent of the Col de Mans is usually the one that causes all the problems and the carnage on the road. Of course, we know the famous incident with Lance Armstrong and Giuseppe Bellocchi. That probably is one of like the most popular clips in the whole cycling. But yeah, the heat is going to be crazy again with 100 or 102 even predicted for that stage. So definitely the first part of this weather thing is the transitional stages heat. Okay, I looked at the weather in great detail coming up for the Alpine stages, and if the weather prediction holds, we're gonna have some epic racing in the Alps because pretty much all 3 days they are forecasted to be rain and forecasted to either be thunder. So now you have the riders coming from the off day, right? They're coming into, an off day today is in a super hot conditions. So the question is, how much are they really riding? Are they riding on rollers? How much are they really spending outside? Things are just so, little things can affect a tour in such a bad way, even if somebody forgets sunscreen, right? For an hour or hour and a half, that could literally destroy your Tour de France. Okay, because like you get a tan, and then it just really starts bothering you. Okay, so this is how the director of sportives are just going to be very careful going after and taking care of these riders. But yeah, this is going to be a huge, huge thing. Think about where we're going in the Alps, right? This is kind of a very special Tour de France where they're targeting huge, huge alpine passes way, way beyond 2,000 meters, 6,800 feet. So, you've got issues like visibility, okay? You've got issues like road surface now, all right? The road width, okay? How many harpins? What about the road service? How is it affected in the rain? How is it affected in the rain? What about thunderstorm? What happens? Okay, so all of those things are incredibly important in figuring out who is going to really win this tour. Um, First of all, tomorrow is going to be a flat stage, but tomorrow there's a danger of crosswinds. Okay, looking at the prediction for the wind, it's 12, 13 kilometers sustained, so that's more than normal, right? Normal would be 6, 7, 8 kilometers for that area. I don't expect any wind echelons to form because everybody is going to be really watching, okay? All the teams are going to be, I mean, every minute of this stage tomorrow is going to be really about control and about going a little slower. But what I'm expecting is one or two of those unfortunate crashes due to just the riders and teams being nervous. Okay, just like on a stage a day after the famous echelons to Albi, where all the favorites lost time. So this is going to be really interesting tomorrow if one of these guys, one of the top 5, 6, gets caught in that crash, and how this will affect his chances, for overall victory. So tomorrow the main obstacle will be a wind and the danger of crashes. The next stage on Wednesday is hilly, and the riders, the commissaries, and the designers of the Tour de France the road actually opted for a less dangerous descent to gap, right? So they opted not for the Col de Mans, but they all opted for Col de Centennial. Okay, we all know this is going to be a breakaway stage. This is the last chance for the breakaway guys. The guys they're not super climbers. So the breakaway is going to be all over the road. The question is whether somebody out of the GC guys will try to steal seconds on the Col de la Centennial, right? It comes within 10K away from the finish, and the climb is not that hard, but I'm looking at it right now, and we're looking at 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers at 6.5 at the beginning, okay? Then another 2 kilometers at 6.5 in the middle of it. So it does flatten out towards the top, but it could be a springboard for somebody brave to steal, seconds. So, we'll just have to see how this whole thing, plays out. If Alaphilippe, I mean, of course, his name comes to the foray on a stage like this. The question is if the climb is really hard enough for him to do this again. Okay, but there's no doubt. There's no doubt that the Connie Quickstep is analyzing this stage as we speak very, very carefully, okay? Because he's going to need seconds, okay? Everybody, the problem with what happened yesterday, with problem with, Alaphilippe showing a little bit of the weakness, is that now that gave all the teams hopes that they can really crack him and they can really drop him in the Alps, especially somebody like Thibaut Pinot. So this was a major thing yesterday. I still think it was a little bit due to the tactical mistakes that he made, right? Not accustomed to being leading in a Tour de France or even considering himself as a contender, and having really no team. I think there was a couple of tactical mistakes made yesterday that kind of caused him a little bit of strength and a little bit of time in the end. But Col de Centennial on Wednesday should be an interesting stage for Alaphilippe. We'll see what kind of approach they will take, right? Whether they will want to conserve the energy for the next three alpine stages, or whether Alaphilippe will just try to really gain the 20-30 seconds that will bring him up to that 2 minute cushion again, and this would be huge. Okay, so that would be the main issue on Wednesday. Now Thursday, we're going into the Alps. Okay, and Alps are pretty weird this year. All right, because they're going for this high alpine mountain passes, but they're using the easiest sides to them. Okay, so Col du Galbier, which comes as a last climb to the stage on Thursday, the first alpine stage, is climbed from the easiest side, and really the last kilometers only could cause some difference before the descent. Now, because the weather is going to be bad per all the predictions, I'm expecting the descents to make more difference than usual. So, the last few kilometers could be, of the climb could be where somebody could make that spectacular attack and literally go for broke on a descent, right? Now, we keep talking about this the greatest descenders in the sport, but on the descents in the rain, it's really your life, it's your whole career, it's everything else. So really, it takes a half a crazy man to really put everything, to put pretty much all risk on one descent and try to win the tour. So this is going to be really, really interesting. One of the examples of how guys can kind of overestimate their descending skills is Vincenzo Nibali, widely considered to be the best descender in the sport. Remember the Olympics in Brazil, what happened, right? When he was in a breakaway, going down to the off the final descent, and what did he do? He crashed, breaking bones, and that gave, I believe, Micah was going alone, and he was caught in the end by a couple of guys. But that just comes to show you overconfidence of your descending skills can lead to disasters. So again, this is going to be really, really, really interesting. I wanted to kind of look at the route and identify three key moments in the alpine stages, right? Three key moments. So I looked at the route literally super carefully, right? Looking at each descent, considering whether this would be a place, to attack for each rider. And I kind of identify three places where this could happen, okay? Stage 18, all right? And this is the stage when we have three super high calls. The last two of them are order category, horse category. And the last 4 kilometers of the last climb, Galibier, right? Galibier has a KM bonus on top, 8 and 5 and 2 seconds, which could play, into the overall as well, on Thursday, because the overall is getting tighter. The top 5-6 is getting tighter, not wider. So this is going to be really interesting. That the bonus KM and also the bonuses to win the stage. But the last 4 kilometers, the side of the Galibier that they're climbing is actually very easy. It's 23 kilometers, but it's only at 5%. And up to about 4 kilometers from the finish, it's easy. It's like 3, 4, 5%. So, not expecting any attacks there. But because of the weather issues, okay, because it's going to be super, super dangerous, somebody may fancy to attack from 4 kilometers to go on Galibier, go over the top and really make the quick descent, And this is where we're going to see the difference on who the best descender is out of all the guys. But then again, overconfidence, could be a factor too. So this is the first key moment on the first alpine stage, the last 4 kilometers of a climb of the Galibier, and then going down the last, I think, 15K from the finish. Let's look at the profile of this stage. So we have 4 climbs, but we really have the 3 big ones. We have a Col de Vars, tough climb. Col de Izoard, very tough climb from that side. We have the Galibier, which is the final climb, which is an easy climb up to about 4 kilometers left. And then we have a 189,208. We have a 19-kilometer descent. This might be a key moment, right here. Second key moment comes the next day, right? On the stage to Tignes. All right, we have it's one of those punchy, very kind of quick stages, attacking stages. And I'm looking at the profile right now. We climbed the Iseran first, okay, but that side of Iseran is not hard, and it's just too far from the finish. The top of the Iseran comes 89 kilometers from the finish, and we have 26. It still comes 37K out, so this will be a long-range attack. But the bottom of Tignes, it's a climb that is only 7.4 kilometers at 7%. The bottom of it, all right, has a kilometer. Looking at the profile right now, has 1 kilometer at 9.1%. So the first kilometer is 7.5, then it's 9.1, and the third is 6.8. And this is where the difference could be made for somebody like Thibaut Pinot. So this would be and then it kind of really flattens out in the middle. Then it does have one couple of kilometers at 8.7 and 7.4, but the bottom of Tignes could be where the seconds are gained. All right. Third, and probably the most unknown key moment of the Alpine stages of this third week comes on the next stage, the stage number 20, and many people don't know it, and I just read it on a couple of profiles, and it looks really interesting. So the stage is 130 kilometers. Again, the punchy stage. We have that super long climb to the finish, which is 33 kilometers. But what many people don't know is that right in the middle, right, of the stage, so once we pass the Roseland, then we descend, then we climb a little climb, a category 2, which is called Côte de Longefoy. All right? And the descent of that climb, it's only 1,190 meters tall, but it's only 6.6 kilometers long, and that's kind of an appetizer before the 33-kilometer climb to Val Thorens to 2,365 meters. That descent is the hairiest descent in the Alpine stages. Okay. Now some may call it the first descent from the Iseran on the first Alpine stage very hairy. That's true, but this one has some of the craziest and toughest harpins there are. Right. And I read that on like multiple sources. Definitely seen pictures too. So expect somebody to try to go from there, especially then the valley road. Once we descend of the Longefoy, the valley road is only 8 kilometers in between Longefoy and the beginning of Val Thorens. That could give somebody enough time to survive and start a climb with like a 20-30 second lead, to go for for glory. So watch that climb, right, on the third Alpine stage, and especially watch that descent of the Longefoy. This is going to be one of the key moments in the Alps, especially if it rains. And all 3 days are forecasted to have, to have rain and showers and even thunder. So it's going to be interesting. Now, the entire climb, actually, not only the descent, but the entire climb of a Côte de Longefoy is really interesting because there is a kilometer of that climb that actually has really hard part. So I'm looking at it right now. And Côte Longefoy, I think the attack may come if it's raining on a descent, but somebody may have a chance to go here because the third kilometer of this 6 kilometer climb averages 9.1% with a 12.5% ramps. Okay, so the climb is 7.9% average gradient for the first kilometer, 7% for the second, 7% for the third, and then it goes to 9.1% for the whole kilometer and 7.4 for the next. So really, really, really interesting how this is going to play out. But the whole Côte de Longefoy, this will be the key moment of the tour and the third Alpine stage, and this will be where either on the climb or especially on the descent, a lot of this tour is going to be decided. So overall chances, okay. I'm really looking at Movistar, and I'm looking at their chances, right? Being 5 minutes behind, and I really think Movistar here is going to play a major part in who wins the Tour de France. They may not win the Tour themselves, right? But them playing that Joker card, attacking from early on, will be a big deal. And and I'm expecting them, kind of, by trying to win the Tour and attacking from our way, kind of like, in a way, kind of take part in who wins the Tour. So, Landa's attacks, okay? Where is Landa going to attack? And if and how many times he's going to attack, right? He wants the top three finish. I think he may have a chance to actually go for glory, right? Because all these guys will be watching each other. It's going to be a tactical battle, and Movistar is a little bit further back, so it might be the third guy that takes advantage of a situation, right? There's Jumbo will be fighting Alaphilippe and everyone else. And Jumbo will be fighting Ineos. Pinot will be watching Alaphilippe. So, there might be a chance for the third guy to attack. So Valverde and Landa, together with their Movistar team, despite their issues with Quintana, look like the strongest team in the race. Okay? So, this will play a part. All right, so how is Alaphilippe? Okay? Whether, I've talked about this before. Was there weakness on the finishing climb due to exhaustion, complete exhaustion, and the signs of cracking by Alaphilippe? Or was it more a combination of just being tired like everyone else and making tactical mistakes by responding to Thibaut Pinot's acceleration and then leading, right, Team Ineos and Jumbo? So Alaphilippe drops and then leads the group, right? Doesn't ride his own pace, but kind of leads the Kreiswijk and Thomas group for just a little bit, for like 5-6 minutes, but that kind of puts him in the red. Okay, So that would be a big question. Thibaut Pinot, right? Thibaut Pinot will need 2 attacks to win the yellow jersey. Okay, I don't think he can take the minute 50. Um, minute 50 back from Alaphilippe with 1 attack, unless Alaphilippe completely cracks and loses like 20 minutes. All right, the bottom of Tignes, right, would be a great place for him to go. And then if there's another place for him to go, because he's not a great descender, we know that, and this is going to be a factor for him. If it rains, if all the forecasts hold, the bottom of the last climb, Val Thorens, right, will be, it's the steepest there. So this is the second time where we could see him try to go for glory. Okay, but yeah. Another issue with Pinot is, this is going to be a huge part, is his descending, right? He's not the greatest descender in the peloton. He's had some problems in the Tour de France in 2015, also 2016 with crashing and, crashing on a descent. So, it's going to be wet. It's going to be nasty. We'll see how this will affect Pinot's, chances. But he will need 2 different spots to attack to gain 2 minutes back on Alaphilippe, and also the team, right? He has Gaudu, but the question is how far can Gaudu really lead into the Alps, right? How many stages can he do the same thing what he did in the Pyrenees? That's the question. Now, Reichenbach, the champion of Switzerland, did help Gaudu on the stage yesterday, so he's going to play an important part in this. I think his attacking is over, okay, because I think he'll stay in the peloton and try to help Pinot as much as he can. Ineos team, all right, the most important thing here for the Ineos thing is who's the leader, okay. I think Bernal is getting a free hand by now, by the way. I don't think Bernal is coming back at any time to pace Geraint Thomas. All right, how is Geraint Thomas? All right, is he still? He's definitely not as strong as he was last year, but is he improving or is he not? Okay, 2 climbs, the Val Thorens, the 33-kilometer climb, and tomorrow, and Tignes on a second Alpine stage, favor Geraint Thomas, right? Not a steepened gradient, very kind of like a monotone, kind of open road, very better gear for Geraint Thomas, harder gear, lower gear in terms of that. Longer climb, so this will favor Kruijswijk and will favor Geraint Thomas. So another question is, whether Ineos will just do their regular tactic of riding up front, or they're sending Bernal in a long-range attack somewhere. Okay, we still don't know how Thomas is. The question is if Ineos will sacrifice one of their leader chances for the other to try to win the Tour, and will that create another friction, right? I'm just curious about Geraint Thomas leaving for another team next year, right? We got Froome, we got Bernal now, Geraint Thomas, so we got 3 favorites. Somebody, all of them want to go to the Tour. Bernal this year was kind of groomed for the Giro. He crashed out of that plan, so now he came to the Tour. Froome is all broken up now. Geraint Thomas is not really, having 100% Tour de France. So we'll just have to see how this plays out in future. One of them will for sure at some point leave this team. Jumbo and Kruijswijk, right? Whether we'll have another issue for another descender. Kruijswijk is probably not as good of a descender as Alaphilippe, okay? We remember him crashing in a Giro when Nibali won. I think it was 2016, the famous crash into a snowbank. So there are issues there. All right. Another issue for Kreiswick is going to be how this heat will affect him. Right. He's Dutch. So they don't, it's going to be interesting how the heat on the first, or the combination of heat and rain will affect Kreiswick. By the way, coming back to Pinot usually always has a bad day, one bad day in the mountains. He hasn't had that this year. So it's going to be really interesting to see if he does or not. Um, so, what else? Bookman, right? I don't really much know anything about Bookman, right? Um, you know, Besides just following wheels and being strong, he did well in, he seems to do well in the GC, but he's not really at this point, or at least from what I see, and it's just my personal opinions. By the way, everything on this channel is my personal opinions. Um, I don't really look at him as a champion just yet, right? He's just following wheels for now. I'm not sure if he has the champion mentality just yet. Of course, in the future, he could get it, and I could be totally wrong because Bookman could be on the attack all throughout the Alps, right? So it's kind of his weather. Apparently, he's pretty good in the colder weather. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Bookman will do, and whether he will go for broke and try to attack and finally kind of lift himself from like a GC wheel follower to a champion. Um, who is the best descender out of all of these guys? All right, this is going to be the question. All right, I think out of the six, Alaphilippe is by far the best. Saying this, the weather will play the factor, and the question is whether one of them will play a difference. My hunch is that the weather will affect the race in the way such as one of these guys, one of these top tens or top six especially, will have a crash, right? And that will affect the rest of the race, right? The question, another big factor here that I haven't talked about yet is, should the weather go really bad? And I don't know the protocol for the stages of the tour, right? What happens if there's thunderstorm? Okay, and all 3 days in the Alps have projected thunderstorms. So what happens with that? I'm just curious. And then I'm really curious what will happen if the torrential rain makes the visibility impossible on 2,600 meters or 2,400 meters like Galibier or Iseran. And what happens with that if the commissars, if their race judges try to cut out the climbs and go through a different route? How will this affect the race, and whether this will help Alaphilippe, right? So this is going to be interesting to see. But watch the weather very carefully this week in the Alps, because route changes actually may happen. Okay, geez, whatever happens, okay, whatever happens this week, there's so many possibilities. There is so many plots in all of this, right? We're in for a fantastic week of cycling. And again, I'm not making predictions because it's just impossible, right? Um, you know, I'm not French, but I'm hoping for France to finally break the curse, right? So I'm personally rooting for Frenchmen to win, and I would just love for Alaphilippe to win, because it would be, I think, great for cycling. And what he has done this year in the Tour, the way he's been attacking, the way he's been holding. There are people out there that are accusing Alaphilippe of like playing a little bit, the whole panache thing, like the mouth and the whole thing, like suffering, and acting, right? That would be the question. But like, I don't know. I don't. I'm not Philippe. I don't know how he feels. I don't know how he reacts. I don't know his character, right? So, you know, it's just going to be really interesting to see. But I gotta say, I gotta be honest. Maybe I'm partial. I'm hoping for the French curse to be lifted. I think France deserve it. Okay, uh, uh, you know, at the same time, geez, any one of these guys could deserve it. I mean, look at Thibaut Pinot, how hard he's been attacking, right? Um, you know, I think Ineos probably has the least fans, just because they've been winning all the time, right? But I mean, Geraint Thomas could very well return. Look at Egan Bernal, all right? Kreiswick. Well, what about Landa and his role as a joker in this tour? So whatever happens, it's going to be super super exciting, and I cannot wait. All right, thanks for the questions on the channel. Hopefully you enjoy this video. I'm really really curious about what you think. How this will unfold this week? So leave me comments, please. I always try to answer. Yep, if you liked it. Hit the icon. If you didn't, well, you didn't, right? If you like the channel, subscribe, and I'll be making videos on all the major races, previewing them, daily coverage, and so on and so on. Hopefully you're riding. All right, today the weather is not that great. It's raining. I still may go for a ride. I went yesterday. Fantastic ride. I was like averaging like 19 miles for 25 flat uh, miles. So it went well. My little hills around the house were my cols, my high Pyrenean and Alpine passes. So it was just kind of fun, right, to climb them and think about the race. So hopefully you're riding. Hopefully you're getting in shape. And thanks for watching. See you later, guys.